It wasn't that long ago black bears in the state of Florida were considered endangered, and conservation efforts succeeded in bringing the population back to what's considered normal levels of sustainability. The bears actually did more than just survive. They thrived in returning to the land they once roamed free. So the state of Florida recently decided to sell bear hunt permits and allow for the killing of those bears in what they claim was all based on conservation. It created a national uproar in light of current stories about hunters killing animals for nothing more than heads on a wall and rugs on a floor. Almost 300 bears were killed, and the state is considering another legal hunt. Not sitting well at all with those who wonder if killing the animals for sport is the only answer. Welcome in Executive Director of the Girls Gone Green, an advocacy group dedicated to environmental, animal, and health issues, Julie Watkins. Julie, I want to thank you so much for joining us. I want to point out that I started a lot of this argument on my social media pages, and it blew up in almost no time. So let me go ahead and hit you what many of the people have said. Ed, come on. Julie, come on. It's only 300 bears. There's plenty of them there. What's everybody so concerned about? To which you would answer.
Right. This is really speaking to a bigger issue that we're facing in Florida, and it's how do we manage our wildlife in general. The sad part is we only have about 3,000 Florida black bears in existence worldwide. So this is a subspecies that is very particular in Florida, and there's some in southern Georgia. So our biggest question is, if we cannot find space for 3,000 bears in a state that houses 19 million people, what's going to happen 5 to 10 years from now as development continues and our growth continues in population? So it's really about, we need to figure out now how to coexist with our wildlife and how to protect our ecosystems and, more importantly, our biodiversity. And that was what we're really fighting for here. We want commissioners to understand that we need to learn to coexist with everyone else that is trying to find space in this state.
Now, what about those who fire right back and they say, if we don't do this, then conservation fails? And the others who say, we have no place else to put them. We can't go out and get them and transfer them anyplace. So for conservation purposes, I know you've heard this and I know I've heard it as well, the best thing to do is to kill them. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Right. I know. Yeah, you're killing a species to protect a species, and it doesn't make sense now, and it never will make sense. But it came out during the court hearing that that's not something that we needed to do because there is still space to house the black bear. They were capable of taking some of the bears in these populations that they felt were overpopulated and transferring them to these other, they call them bear management units. We've got 6 in Florida. Only 4 were verified for hunting because they don't have an official count on 2, and they think the bear count in these 2 zones are too low. So they could have easily taken the bears that they felt it was too high and transported them to these other areas. They just feel that's cost prohibitive. So they're not really looking at the long-term picture of, again, making sure that there's enough DNA in one area to help a healthy population of black bears, and instead they're going into what they feel is overpopulated areas and hunting them down. And also it came out in the court hearing, though, and this is important, that the bears have not reached their carrying capacity in the landmass that they have now. So why do we feel like we need to stabilize their population? These bears were not starving. They're not fighting for food with each other. They're not competing that much. So they were still able to allow a lot more growth.
And isn't the argument just ridiculous when people come back and say the bears are attacking human beings and the bears will eat people? Come on, stop. I mean, the bears live in their area. If you don't go into it, if you're not stupid enough like some hikers to walk in there on your own, bears don't look to kill human beings. They do wander into a lot of populated areas, but doesn't that then fall to us as the logically thinking, intelligent humans to figure out how we make sure that they don't come into our area, or we don't keep incursions into where they live?
Right, and we are pretty misinformed when it comes to black bears. We think they're the apex predator, but they're not carnivores. They don't want to. Their diet does not consist a lot of flesh. It's a lot of berries. It's the palmettos that we have here in Florida, and it's a lot of plants. So no, they don't want any conflict with people. And when development happens, we're paving over their homes. These are their food sources. So what happens a week, 2 weeks after this development has all of a sudden sprouted up, they're just going back to these areas that they know a food source is there.
And not only that, Julie, but I don't mean to interrupt, but we're short on time, but what we do as human beings is, and they're doing this in Central Florida, they consistently build houses into the Bear area, into these areas. They're building, we don't do anything on urban renewal whatsoever. We don't pull back. We don't try to build new areas. We just want to go ahead and destroy some new property and see if we can sell it for large amounts of money and kill whatever's in our way. How am I doing so far?
And you're right, it's all about money. Bears, they're not good for the economy, I guess. They're not taxpayers, so it's, they're not buying houses, unfortunately.
I understand when some people come to me and they say there's people who hunt them for food. I get that, all right? But you and I both know that there are these Yahoo wingnuts out there who just can't wait to put a head on the wall, can't wait to put a rug on the floor, or put a bear claw on their belt. That happens, and it's happening now, yes? I mean, there is proof that this is happening. It's not all just for food.
Oh yeah, no, I overheard that. I was at a bear monitoring station when they were weighing them in, and you could overhear the hunter saying, "Oh, so you're going to mount the head, and what else are you going to do with the rest of the body?" And they couldn't cultivate the meat because the bear had been killed for too long and wasn't put on ice immediately. And I hear it's not the best
Disgusting.
meat anyway, so it's not like an ideal food source.
Disgusting. We do it 30 seconds. Do we have proof that cubs and mama bears were shot too?
We definitely have proof that mama bears were shot because I want to say a third of them were lactating when they were coming into the weigh stations. Our commissioners are trying to say that they did it after August 1st because they feel like the cubs are grown enough that they can survive on their own. But the key word is maybe, could, possibly. It's not a guarantee. So we do have reports from people that are trying to go in the woods and save these cubs that they have seen young cubs out there, and the Fish and Wildlife just aren't taking it seriously enough. With the number of them dying too.
Just despicable, and they're thinking about doing it again. All right, I want to remind everybody, the website is thegirlsgonegreen.com. Learn about it. There's nothing wrong with humans learning to get along with animals. It's what we should be doing in the first place. Julie Watkins, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck. We will talk again about this. And stay with us, because the Hardline continues.